Parshat Beshalach. Exodus 13. It came to pass when Pharaoh let the people go that Elohim did not lead them by way of the land of the Philistines, for it was near, because Elohim said, lest the people reconsider when they see war and return to Egypt. So Elohim led the people around by way of the desert to the Red Sea, and the children of Israel were armed when they went up out of Egypt. Moses took Joseph's bones with him, for he, Joseph, had adjured the sons of Israel, saying, Elohim will surely remember you, and you shall bring up my bones from here with you. They traveled from Succoth, and they encamped in Etham at the edge of the desert. And Hashem went before them by day in a pillar of cloud to cause it to lead them on the way, and at night in a pillar of fire to give them light. They thus could travel day and night. He did not move away the pillar of cloud by day, or the pillar of fire at night, from before the people. Exodus 14. Hashem spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and let them turn back and encamp in front of Pi-hahiroth, between Migdol and the sea. In front of Baal-zephon you shall encamp opposite it, by the sea. And Pharaoh will say about the children of Israel, They are trapped in the land, the desert has closed in upon them. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and he will pursue them, and I will be glorified through Pharaoh and through his entire force, and the Egyptians will know that I am Hashem. And they did so. It was reported to Pharaoh that the people had fled, and Pharaoh and his servants had a change of heart toward the people. And they said, What is this that we have done, that we have released Israel from serving us? So he, Pharaoh, harnessed his chariot and took his people with him. He took 600 select chariots and all the chariots of Egypt, with officers over them all. And Hashem hardened the heart of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and he chased after the children of Israel, and the children of Israel were marching out triumphantly. The Egyptians chased after them and overtook them, encamped by the sea, every horse of Pharaoh's chariots, his horsemen, and his force beside Pi-hahiroth, in front of Baal-zephon. Pharaoh drew near, and the children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians were advancing after them. They were very frightened, and the children of Israel cried out to Hashem. They said to Moses, Is it because there are no graves in Egypt that you have taken us to die in the desert? What is this that you have done to us to take us out of Egypt? Isn't this the thing about which we spoke to you in Egypt, saying, Leave us alone, and we will serve the Egyptians, because we would rather serve the Egyptians than die in the desert? Moses said to the people, Don't be afraid, stand firm and see Hashem's salvation that he will wreak for you today. For the way you have seen the Egyptians is only today. But you shall no longer continue to see them for eternity. Hashem will fight for you, but you shall remain silent. Hashem said to Moses, Why do you cry out to me? Speak to the children of Israel and let them travel. And you raise your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea and split it. And the children of Israel shall come in the midst of the sea on dry land, and I, behold, I shall harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they will come after you, and I will be glorified through Pharaoh and through all his force, through his chariots and through his horsemen. And the Egyptians shall know that I am Hashem, when I will be glorified through Pharaoh, through his chariots and through his horsemen. Then a messenger of the Elohim, who had been going in front of the Israelite camp, moved and went behind them, and the pillar of cloud moved away from in front of them and stood behind them. And he came between the camp of Egypt and the camp of Israel. And there were the cloud and the darkness, and it illuminated the night, and one didn't draw near the other all night long. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and Hashem led the sea with the strong east wind all night. And he made the sea into dry land, and the waters split. Then the children of Israel came into the midst of the sea on dry land, and the waters were to them as a wall from their right and from their left. The Egyptians pursued and came after them, all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen, into the midst of the sea. It came about in the morning watch that Hashem looked down over the Egyptian camp through a pillar of fire and cloud, and he threw the Egyptian camp into confusion. And he removed the wheels of their chariots, and he led them with heaviness. And the Egyptians said, Let me run away from the Israelites, because Hashem is fighting for them against the Egyptians. Thereupon Hashem said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand over the sea, and let the water return upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots, and upon their horsemen." So Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and toward morning the sea returned to its strength, as the Egyptians were fleeing toward it, and Hashem stirred the Egyptians into the sea. And the waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen, the entire force of Pharaoh coming after them into the sea. Not even one of them survived. But the children of Israel went on dry land in the midst of the sea, and the water was to them like a wall from their right and from their left. On that day Hashem saved Israel from the hands of the Egyptians. And Israel saw the Egyptians dying on the seashore. And Israel saw the great hand which Hashem had used upon the Egyptians. And the people feared Hashem, and they believed in Hashem and in Moses, his servant. Exodus 15. Then Moses and the children of Israel sang this song to Hashem, and they spoke, saying, "I will sing to Hashem, for very exalted is he. A horse and its rider he cast into the sea. The eternal strength and his vengeance were my salvation. This is my El, and I will make him a habitation. Elohim of my father, and I will ascribe to him exaltation. Hashem is a man of war. Hashem is his name. Pharaoh's chariots and his army. He cast into the sea, and the elite of his officers sank in the Red Sea. The depths covered them. They descended into the depths like a stone. Your right hand, O Hashem, is most powerful. Your right hand, O Hashem, crushes the foe. And with your great pride you tear down those who rise up against you. You send forth your burning wrath. It devours them like straw. And with the breath of your nostrils the waters were heaped up. The running water stood erect like a wall. The depths congealed in the heart of the sea. Because the enemy said, I will pursue, I will overtake, I will share the booty. My desire will be filled from them. I will draw my sword, my hand will impoverish them. You blew with your wind, the sea covered them. They sank like lead in the powerful waters. Who is like you among the Elim, O Hashem? Who is like you, powerful in the holy place, too awesome for praises, performing wonders? You inclined your right hand, the earth swallowed them up. With your loving kindness you led the people, you redeemed, you led them with your might to your holy abode. Peoples heard, they trembled, a shudder seized the inhabitants of Philistia. Then the chieftains of Edom were startled. As for the powerful men of Moab, trembling seized them. All the inhabitants of Canaan melted. May dread and fright fall upon them. With the arm of your greatness may they become as still as a stone, until your people cross over, O Hashem, until this nation that you have acquired crosses over. You shall bring them and plant them on the mount of your heritage, directed toward your habitation, which you made, O Hashem, the sanctuary, O Lord, which your hands founded. Hashem will reign to all eternity. When Pharaoh's horses came with his chariots and his horsemen into the sea, and Hashem brought the waters of the sea back upon them, and the children of Israel walked on dry land in the midst of the sea, Miriam, the prophetess, Aaron's sister, took a timbrel in her hand, and all the women came out after her with timbrels and with dances. And Miriam called out to them, Sing to Hashem, for very exalted is he. A horse and its rider he cast into the sea. Moses led Israel away from the Red Sea, and they went out into the desert of Shur. They walked for 3 days in the desert, but did not find water. They came to Marah, but they could not drink water from Marah because it was bitter. Therefore it was named Marah. The people complained against Moses, saying, What shall we drink? So he cried out to Hashem, and Hashem instructed him concerning a piece of wood, which he cast into the water, and the water became sweet. There he gave them a statute and an ordinance, and there he tested them. And he said, If you hearken to the voice of Hashem, your Elohim, and you do what is proper in his eyes, and you listen closely to his commandments and observe all his statutes, all the sicknesses that I have visited upon Egypt I will not visit upon you, for I, Hashem, am your healer. They came to Elim, and there were 12 water fountains and 70 palms, and they encamped there by the water. Exodus 16. They journeyed from Elim, and the entire community of the children of Israel came to the desert of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after their departure from the land of Egypt. The entire community of the children of Israel complained against Moses and against Aaron in the desert. The children of Israel said to them, "If only we had died by the hand of Hashem in the land of Egypt, when we sat by pots of meat, when we ate bread to our fill. For you have brought us out into this desert to starve this entire congregation to death." So Hashem said to Moses, "Behold, I am going to rain down for you bread from heaven, and the people shall go out and gather what is needed for the day so that I can test them, whether or not they will follow my teaching. And it shall be on the 6th day that when they prepare what they will bring, it will be double of what they gather every day." Thereupon Moses and Aaron said to all the children of Israel, "In the evening you shall know that Hashem brought you out of the land of Egypt. And in the morning you shall see the glory of Hashem when he hears your complaints against Hashem. But of what significance are we that you make the people complain against us?" And Moses said, "When Hashem gives you in the evening meat to eat and bread in the morning, with which to become sated, when Hashem hears your complaints which you are making, the people complain against him, but of what significance are we? Not against us are your complaints, but against Hashem." And Moses said to Aaron, "Say to the entire community of the children of Israel, Draw near before Hashem, for he has heard your complaints." And it came to pass when Aaron spoke to the entire community of the children of Israel, that they turned toward the desert, and behold, the glory of Hashem appeared in the cloud. Hashem spoke to Moses, saying, "I have heard the complaints of the children of Israel. Speak to them, saying, In the afternoon you shall eat meat, and in the morning you shall be sated with bread, and you shall know that I am Hashem, your Elohim." It came to pass in the evening that the quails went up and covered the camp, and in the morning there was a layer of dew around the camp. The layer of dew went up, and behold, on the surface of the desert a fine bare substance as fine as frost on the ground. When the children of Israel saw it, they said to one another, "It is manna," because they did not know what it was. And Moses said to them, "It is the bread that Hashem has given you to eat. This is the thing that Hashem has commanded. Gather of it each one according to his eating capacity, an omer for each person according to the number of persons. Each one for those in his tent you shall take." And the children of Israel did so. They gathered, both the one who gathered much and the one who gathered little. And they measured it with an omer, and whoever gathered much did not have more, and whoever gathered little did not have less. Each one according to his eating capacity they gathered. And Moses said to them, "Let no one leave over any of it until morning." But some men did not obey Moses and left over some of it until morning, and it bred worms and became putrid, and Moses became angry with them. They gathered it morning by morning, each one according to his eating capacity, and when the sun grew hot, it melted. It came to pass on the 6th day that they gathered a double portion of bread, 2 omers for each one, and all the princes of the community came and reported it to Moses. So he said to them, "That is what Hashem spoke. Tomorrow is a rest day, a holy Sabbath to Hashem. Bake whatever you wish to bake, and cook whatever you wish to cook, and all the rest leave over to keep until morning." So they left it over until morning, as Moses had commanded, and it did not become putrid, and not a worm was in it. And Moses said, "Eat it today, for today is a Sabbath to Hashem. Today you will not find it in the field. 6 days you shall gather it, but on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath on it, there will be none." It came about that on the 7th day, some of the people went out to gather manna, but they did not find any. Hashem said to Moses, "How long will you refuse to observe my commandments and my teachings? See that Hashem has given you the Sabbath. Therefore, on the 6th day, he gives you bread for 2 days. Let each man remain in his place. Let no man leave his place on the 7th day." So the people rested on the 7th day. The house of Israel named it manna, and it was like coriander seed. It was white, and it tasted like a wafer with honey. Moses said, "This is the thing that Hashem commanded. Let 1 omerful of it be preserved for your generations. in order that they see the bread that I fed you in the desert when I took you out of the land of Egypt." And Moses said to Aaron, "Take 1 jug and put there an omerful of manna and deposit it before Hashem to be preserved for your generations." As Hashem had commanded Moses, Aaron deposited it before the testimony to be preserved. And the children of Israel ate the manna for 40 years until they came to an inhabited land. They ate the manna until they came to the border of the land of Canaan. The omer is 1/10 of an ephah. Exodus 17. The entire community of the children of Israel journeyed from the desert of Sin to their travels by the mandate of Hashem. They encamped in Rephidim, and there was no water for the people to drink. So the people quarreled with Moses, and they said, "Give us water that we may drink." Moses said to them, "Why do you quarrel with me? Why do you test Hashem?" The people thirsted there for water, and the people complained against Moses. And they said, "Why have you brought us up from Egypt to make me and my children and my livestock die of thirst?" Moses cried out to Hashem, saying, "What shall I do for this people? Just a little longer, and they will stone me." And Hashem said to Moses, "Pass before the people and take with you some of the elders of Israel, and take into your hand your staff, with which you struck the Nile, and go. Behold, I shall stand there before you on the rock in Horeb, and you shall strike the rock, and water will come out of it, and the people will drink." Moses did so before the eyes of the elders of Israel. He named the place Massah and Meribah, because of the quarrel of the children of Israel, and because of their testing Hashem, saying, "Is Hashem in our midst or not?" Amalek came and fought with Israel in Rephidim. So Moses said to Joshua, "Pick men for us and go out and fight against Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with the staff of the Elohim in my hand." Joshua did as Moses had told him, to fight against Amalek. And Moses, Aaron, and Hur ascended to the top of the hill. It came to pass that when Moses would raise his hand, Israel would prevail. And when he would lay down his hand, Amalek would prevail. Now Moses' hands were heavy. So they took a stone and placed it under him, and he sat on it. Aaron and Hur supported his hands, one from this side and one from that side. So he was with his hands in faith until sunset. Joshua weakened Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. Hashem said to Moses, "Inscribe this as a memorial in the book, and recite it into Joshua's ears, that I will surely obliterate the remembrance of Amalek from beneath the heavens." Then Moses built an altar, and he named it Hashem Nisi. And he said, "For there is a hand on the throne of Hashem. Hashem will be at war with Amalek from generation to generation."